world.
Kutoka Pwani.
Kuleta huduma center ilikuwa kitu kizuri kwa sababu unapata huduma zote under one roof.
Hadi katika milima ya kuvutia ya Taita Taveta.
Niko hapa huduma center hapa saa hii, nimeonyeshwa kila kitu na nimeshukuru. Siwezi kutafuta tiketi ya kwenda mpaka huko.
Na kuelekea hadi maeneo tambarare ya Maasai.
Mali ingine nilikuwa naamka mapema niende kupanga laini, lakini hapa nimekuja ile masaa nimechukua almost 10 minutes.
It's a game changer. Imeleta serikali na mwananchi pamoja.
What is it saying?
Tumwake unga.
What? Ani ya Mungu hata ikopotea.
Alikuwa ameiba mpaka hii sahani.
Na hata roti.
Hata wewe ulijaribu mpaka pani okaia pani ya roti na agwe.
Unaona hii sura inakaa namna gani?
Na hii angalia. Hii watoto yangu wanataka kukula, tunawaambia tutakuidia makoa. Bwana moga.
Mpaka Mungu unaiba. Ulikuwa unaiba huyu Mungu wake umpeleke wapi?
Mungu nilikuwa nataka nimweke kwa kabati.
Kupata sikiza tune hii ya kibeti, bonyeza *811*962#.
Aje umefanya vizuri sana kunifikia hii simu sasa. Nimekuwa na stress kutoka asubuhi kabisa. Na ni huyu mtu ambaye alikuwa anapatiana majina ya vitu. Kwani hakutufikiria sisi watu wa Eastern Ukambani? Ni nani alisema ati wife kwa Kiswahili ni mke? Na akasema ati handbaka. Hii inabebwa na mwanamke handbaka. Ati kwa Kiswahili ni kibeti. Huku kwetu mke ndiye kibeti.
Ili kupata sikiza tune hiyo ya kibeti, bonyeza *811*962#. *811*962#.
Between 30 and 40% of all buildings in Kenya are considered to be unfit for human occupation. The verdict: rebuild or demolish. But what is the way forward?
A lot of buildings have been found to be unfit for occupation, and this is after an investigation was carried out by NCA and the National Building Inspectorate, and especially on the eastern parts of Nairobi, where there is a lot of development in the so-called low-cost housing.
This week on Inside Government, we discuss the safety of our buildings with the chairman of Boards of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors, Sylvester Muli Architect, right here on KBC Channel 1.
Tunazungumzia malezi ya watoto kwa njia ya Kiislamu, na pia vile vile tunazungumzia jinsi mapambo yanahukumiwa katika Uislamu.
Kitu ambacho mwanamke anafaa kufanya yanafaa kuambatana na jukumu lake msingi ambalo ni ulinzi. Swala yake ni rehema, hupata
What is it saying?
Tumwake unga.
What? Ani ya Mungu hata ikopotia.
Alikuwa ameiba mpaka hii sahani.
Na hata roti.
Hata wewe ulijaribu mpaka pani ukaia pani ya roti na wewe.
Unaona hii sura inakaa namna gani?
Na hii angalia. Hii watoto yangu wanataka kukula, tunawaambia tutakuidia makoa. Wana moga.
Mpaka Mungu unaiba. Ulikuwa unaiba huu Mungu wake umpeleke wapi?
Mungu nilikuwa nataka nimweke kwa kabati.
Kuna nini?
Simama tu.
Mimi ni kama mama yako. You can tell me anything. Why is it that if a woman does something minor, it's blown out of proportion and made to look like she's committed murder or something? Because men and women are not equal.
Shut up, Mark. Make good use of your phone.
Siku ile nitapata bwana mzuri, nitasettle.
Na huyo mtu atakuja kukutafuta hapa.
Let me get you something.
Sit down.
Christine! Christine!
Well, the cryptocurrency craze is sweeping the world, and Kenya has not been left out. And if I can give you some interesting statistics, Kenya is the leading nation in Africa when it comes into cryptocurrency trade. The question is this: have you been left behind? What do you exactly need to know in order to ride on the bus? Good morning, this is BizCheck. We are live from Broadcasting House. It is actually how many minutes away from, well, it is about 8 minutes past 10 a.m. Of course, a healthy conversation here is about to take place on what you need to know about cryptocurrency trade and how you jump on board. My name is O'Brien Kimani. At O'Brien Kimani is my Twitter handle. At KBC Channel 1 is, of course, our Twitter channel for the corporation. Get in touch with us. And of course, we want to hear from you. And the conversation is going to be interesting right here, right now. Well, good morning and thank you very much indeed for joining us. This is BizCheck live from Broadcasting House. The cryptocurrency craze is sweeping the world and Kenya has not been left out. Actually, Kenya is among the top 3 cryptocurrency trading nations in Africa. And last year, it was number 1 when it comes to peer-to-peer trading. The question is, how do we get to know what exactly are we doing and how do you get to know which currency to invest in and the 101 of investing and trading in cryptocurrency? The fact of the matter is this is a sophisticated business. You need to understand what exactly you are doing. You need to know where you are investing your money and the expected returns. This morning, of course, this is going to be our conversation right here, and I am joined by 2 gentlemen who are crypto enthusiasts, if you like to call them that. On my immediate right is Lawrence Mberi. He is a blockchain and crypto assets enthusiast and educator. Thank you very much indeed, Mberi, for joining us this morning. And of course, next to Mberi, we have Kaptich Louis. He's a crypto assets research and blockchain educator. Louis, thank you very much indeed for joining us. How, first of all, did you end up having such sophisticated titles?
Thanks, O'Brien, for having us. We appreciate you having us here just to discuss matters cryptocurrency. I think it's the fact that we saw the gap that was missing in the industry, and more so all about information, lack of information. So we started by learning. So it's been a journey. These are our 4th, 5th year in the crypto space, and for me, it's just the notion of I want to learn so that I can also teach people. So I really love blockchain as a technology, and also I love cryptocurrency, having learned personally from my own mistakes, and also now from institution like Nicosia, where we took some courses on blockchain, understanding blockchain and cryptocurrency.
Very good. It's very interesting that you're mentioning the mistakes that you have learned, in the process. I mean, that you have committed, and the lessons that you have learned in the process. And of course, we'll be exploring those mistakes. How did you end up being a researcher, a cryptocurrency and a blockchain researcher and educator, Kaplich?
Thank you, Brian. I think, first of all, it's been a journey. And one thing that everybody tends to find their passion in what they're doing. And for me, it has been in IT, that is technology. So by and large, I came through cryptocurrency back in 2016. But as most people know, at the first time, it's usually you're like, what is this? And I'm sure most of the viewers are also wondering, well, what is all this? So for me, the interest spiked from the fact that I love IT, computers. So that's where I got to understand. And the moment I knew that this is the future of another aspect of money, then now it really this is now like my full-time like work. Yeah.
The conversation around blockchain technology as well as cryptocurrency has been with us now for almost 15 years now. But 12 years. I mean,
yeah.
Well, the research around cryptocurrency and blockchain started around the year 2009, thereabout.
Yeah.
But the world came to appreciate and embrace, cryptocurrency trade around now 12 years back.
Yeah.
How much information have you gathered so far to make you an educator, to make you a researcher?
Okay, I think I'll borrow from I think a quote that I read through. The moment you read more than 5 books, I think you become sort of more or less educated in the subject. So that has been what we've been doing ever since. And we've taken courses, as Lawrence has indicated, professional courses, just to get to understand the inner workings of the technology. So I'd say it is a combination of books, of course, coursework as well, and also, I mean, experiencing it at the same time, because you can't teach what you don't know. So the fact that we've been doing it for the longest time, I think we're still students in it, but of course that it doesn't put you any much different, whether it's the time span that is different. Yeah.
And also it's good to appreciate the fact that you're still in the learning process.
Yes.
Because this is evolving technology.
Correct.
This is an evolving concept.
Yeah.
Barry, how much do you know about cryptocurrency?
I can say out of experience, this is my 4th year. Like he said, we came to the crypto 2016. I think Bitcoin back then was around $580, around 58,000 Kenya shillings. But I knew Bitcoin in 2010 when it was 9 cents.
9 cents.
Yeah, and I remember telling one of my friends, this is illegal money. So why did I say it's illegal money? Because I had no information about Bitcoin back then, and any currency that does not come from the government, of course, we know it's not a legal tender. So I forgot about Bitcoin then. Then 2013, another friend of mine from UK brought the same concept of, can you study Bitcoin? It was around $80, around 8,000 Kenya shillings. And I remember I had interest. My background is finance. So for me, I checked how much Bitcoin had changed from 9 cents to $80. And the interest came like, okay, I think here you can make money. But I didn't understand the technology. I didn't understand anything. 2013, I remember the reason as to why we never came on board to crypto was we didn't know where to buy crypto.
Yeah.
So everybody was telling us, send us the money. We're gonna send you the Bitcoin. You don't understand Bitcoin, but somebody is telling you, first of all, send us the money, and then we will send you something you don't understand. So fear came in, and I remember telling my buddy, we're gonna lose our money. So 2013, at 8,000 Kenya shillings, we forgot about Bitcoin. So 2016 is when
3 years later.
3 years later is when I just now came across Bitcoin at $580, which is 58,000 Kenya shillings. And you're seated over there, you're like...
Did you bang your head?
Of course, you're just asking yourself questions like, what if? What if I took that chance and stuff? So for me, I was like, number one, thinking of internet. When internet boom was happening in 1990. Very few people took advantage of internet.
Yep.
And for me, the interest of learning came that this is a new technology. Very few people are talking about it. Everything online early with Bitcoin was bad. Every information about cryptocurrency was bad. But for me, I was like, what is the 1% that is good about this? And that's what drove me to learning more about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I've never looked back. I love numbers, and of course, we've seen how Bitcoin has grown. So learning is what we do every day. We research. At times, we sleep 4 hours just learning because the technology is changing very fast. So you cannot say like you are an expert. We are just students.
It is still a learning curve.
Yes,
for the two of you.
Yes.
Kaptich, what mistakes have you made in your interactions with cryptocurrencies?
All right, yeah, I think that's a very good question. I think that's actually what people should be asking. What are the portals that you've seen all through? Personally, I think there was at the incept of cryptocurrencies, there is what you call there are different kind of cryptocurrencies. I think that's where I can start from. But before you get to know which,
but the most prominent
Bitcoin.
Dogecoin and
Bitcoin is Dogecoin. I think
it just came there.
Yeah.
But cryptocurrency, Bitcoin.
Bitcoin was the first form of cryptocurrency that is successful. Also the most valuable. But I remember back in 2016, where there are very many other, we call them alternative coins. And people came in like, yeah, you see Bitcoin, the way it has gone this much, this one also is going to get that much. So we bought those, they're called ICOs, initial coin offerings. Yeah. With the promise of, you had Lauren say, looking at Bitcoin at $50,000, 50,000 Kenya shillings, and they missed it at 8,000. And somebody telling you there's another one that will go. So of course you throw in all your money there. And then all of a sudden, after some months, the project disappears. You
realize it was a scam.
It was a scam. So we lost a lot of money, personally, when Lawrence, I believe. Then we were like, okay, even if we lost...
How much money did you lose?
Let's go there. That was the cost of...
You can say it softly.
Yeah, but really, it was kind of your money. I mean, it's not small money. But I mean, just like any other thing out there, people start business, they fail, they start again, they fail. In the end, they succeed.
So what kept you going? I mean, the fact that you lose money in a business venture, I mean, when you burn your fingers, investing for the second time, I mean, you're always like, hey, wait a minute, I first of all must do a lot of due diligence before I venture in. How did you manage to hold on and keep going in the trade?
I think I'd refer to confidence. Because the moment you start reading something and knowing the other side of the story, because in anything there's two sides of the story. Even in, say there's a story, there's my story. So when you hear the right part of Bitcoin, the 1% that Lawrence talked about, you realize that people are really focusing on the bad side of this all this technology. And the moment I realized this is actually the future of you can say finance and also technology. I was like, yeah, this is where I need to be. Just like the way internet was starting. Guys who knew about Google back then, or even Facebook back then, there's those who knew the bigger scale of it, got into it. But of course, the bigger majority will always stay back. But the element that, of course, get me going is just the risk element. Always you have to have a risk element in you that you are willing to lose so you can gain. So that's what I think drove me into now learning more and also putting in most of my time. Yeah.
Lawrence, I mean, how did you end up burning your fingers and losing your investment in cryptocurrency?
Very good question, Brian. I think number one is we didn't have like the information we have today. So information was scanty. And then the people who had information, they were coming to sell you something. So when you don't have a lot of information, you tend to fall for anything that comes your way, with that promise of, you're gonna make a whole lot of money out of it. Like Louis mentioned, we put quite a good number of Bitcoins in ICOs.
Yeah.
And the most painful thing is that you're putting those Bitcoins when it's less than 100K, 100,000 Kenya shillings back then. And today it's at around 5.5 million Kenya shilling.
Yeah.
So that's why most of the time when somebody asks you how much money you've burned, you don't want to talk about it, because if you check your accounts, you'll be like. So what made me lose a lot of money is lack of information. And I guess this is what drove myself and Lois to, can we get deeper into understanding the technology? And then for me, I travel out of the country, and I saw the bigger picture of cryptocurrency, where I saw Bitcoin ATMs. I saw shops where they had banners like Bitcoin's cryptocurrencies accepted here.
Yeah.
So that thing really opened my eyes. Like, okay, it made me think of when, and I'll give a very good example, when mobile money technology came here. You'll go to shops where you want to pay using mobile money apps, and a person is like, no, I want cash.
Yeah.
But look back, years from now, the same people who didn't accept those mobile payments, today they don't want to touch cash. They tell you, pay me using. So for me, when I went out there, somebody told me, Bitcoin is better experienced than explained. And I think that's been our mission. How do you experience it? Learn it first, understand the whole concept of what Bitcoin is, and then now you can understand how do I risk, like Louis said, how much do I risk part of my portfolio in this technology? So yeah, I think experience of me burning my fingers, I usually say I never lost, I learned.
You learned in the process.
Yes.
I mean, look, in 2015, the Central Bank of Kenya issued a circular, warning the public against trading in cryptocurrency. And if I can recall, the Central Bank said that cryptocurrencies or digital currencies are not regulated, and you don't have anything physical. And so if you burn your fingers, there is no remedy for you. I mean, there is no legal respite.
Recourse, yeah.
So for you, Kaptich, how did you gather enough confidence, to go against the warning of the central bank and say, hey, look, this is the path I want to pursue?
First of all, I think referring to what you said about the CBK press release, that was a very correct coming from them. They were actually doing the work, informing the public that these are new ways of, these are new technologies that we have no definition as of now. So just be cautious in what you're doing. The good thing that I think I want to commend, of course, the same authorities, that they didn't ban it.
Yeah.
Because banning it would have been another story. We wouldn't have been talking here, unlike other countries.
Yeah.
So the point is that the fact that it's not legal or illegal, of course, that gives you a way to experiment. And they usually say what innovation comes before regulation.
Yeah.
You have to innovate first. And this is something that is touching something that is an age-old activity, exchange. People have been exchanging money, trade and stuff, and this is something that is coming to basically change how that is going to operate. You talked about something that is not. It is virtual. It is digital, meaning we also talked about evolution, something that is changing. So we are moving away from tangible things.
Yeah.
To like virtual things, and this is the world we're heading into. I mean, even right now, I'm sure if you asked the three of us here who has like 10,000 in our pockets, nobody will like, I don't have 10,000 in my pocket, but I'm sure digitally somewhere you have that amount of money digitally, not physically. So this is what you're talking about. Only that it's on a larger scale. So for me, it is disrupting a very big industry, and that's what I was like, yeah, if I put myself into this, of course, you tend to have more. I think it's called what, financial inclusion.
Yeah.
In the bigger scale. So that's what drove me to go beyond that notice. Yeah.
It has been said through research and of course concept notes that Kenya is one of the top trading crypto nations in Africa.
Yeah.
It compares with South Africa, it compares with Nigeria.
Yeah.
How did we end up to that point whereby people are seeing opportunities in cryptocurrencies?
I think Kenya, we are kind of at an advantage, if I may speak from that angle. I think there was a time we were researching and we saw Kenya leads in terms of fintech.
Yeah.
We have the best ICT, I think, in Africa. Also, we have one of the best internet connection. So having those two means people have they have ways of getting information globally faster than most of other nations out there. So what separates everybody is what you know. It's what O'Brien it's what Louis knows, Lawrence knows, and maybe we don't share. So I'm sure with that internet coverage in Kenya, people can read more, people can research more, and people can get the right information. So I think internet has really opened up how people share information, where you can get information, how you can verify information, and I think that's one of the facts that has led Kenya being, I think we are around number 9 globally in terms of
actually number 6.
No, number 6 in terms of crypto. In Africa we are number 2 after Nigeria. We just passed South Africa in terms of peer-to-peer trading. So I think information is getting out there. And then one thing I like about, I think, the spirit of Kenyans is that we don't give up. You get banned, but as long as you know there's something good ahead, you still try to learn more before you really call it quits. So I think we have that advantage of internet connectivity and the best ICT in Africa, and I think that's what is helping Kenyans be part of the global leading cryptocurrency influencers or adopters.
Just about 3 days ago, the Forbes list of billionaires, was released, and it was very interesting to discover that some of the biggest or some of the new young entrants into the world of dollar billionaires, were from the business of crypto currencies and digital trading, and one of them is valued at more than $29 billion, and the total combined wealth of what they are calling the crypto billionaires is estimated at is about $55 billion. So are we jumping into the ship when it has already docked off?
Actually, that brings a very important point of conversation in terms of adoption. Where are we in terms of adoption globally, even locally? So there was some, before I come to what you are asking, there was I think a report done by, was it Binance, one of the exchanges, saying that we are just 3% of the global population that is on digital currencies.
Yeah,
that's a very small number.
Out of the it's 7 point something billion people.
So out of the 3%, you have those now young billionaires. So there's something that is shifting. Digital wealth and also ways of moving money is shifting. And those people that we mentioned, those are the ones who are at the forefront, because they are part of a key ecosystem called exchanges. They are the ones who help, because what is blockchain basically? Blockchain is a third party. It's actually, it doesn't have a third party. It is a trustless way of transacting without a third party. So they're the ones who are on the forefront. But having in mind that we're only 3% of the global population, we are still actually at the early adoption stage.
The market is still very nascent.
It's still very young. So we are going to see another crop of billionaires coming up as we go by. And also, I think based on the numbers we were talking to Lawrence the other day, if you look at the total gold value globally, and you look at the stock value globally, if you look at the cash value globally, and then you look at cryptocurrency, it is just a small bit. And from that small bit is where you get those few billionaires. So what will happen in the next 3 years? That's why people ought to understand so they don't miss out. Yes.
Lawrence, from your research and from your understanding, do we have Kenyans in this ecosystem who are making money?
I think out of just speaking out of maybe people I've interacted with and some of the guys we have dealt with, based on what you're investing in, yes, you can make money. Because I'll just give you an example with Bitcoin. If you know Bitcoin in 2010, 2011, it was at 100 shillings, just 100 shillings. A lot of us, if we had the information, would have afforded just to buy one full Bitcoin back then. And all you needed to do is to buy that one full Bitcoin, keep it in your e-wallet, and forget about it. Today, you'll be at 5-point-something million Kenya shillings without just having to doing nothing.
Out of an investment of 100?
100 shillings. And so are there people making money? Yes, there are people making money. Why are they making money? It's because they are looking for projects that are good, projects that have what we call utility, use cases. Projects that 5-10 years, just like Bitcoin, will still be there because they are giving value to the marketplace. So one of the things we usually discuss with and we tell people who we interact with is, don't follow the price. Understand the technology behind what you're investing in or the project you're getting into. Will it see the end of the light at the end of the tunnel? Basing the same or speaking on the same, there's a research we're doing. There are over 12,200 cryptocurrencies or tokens globally right now. And there's one of the analysts who said only 3% will see the light of the tunnel. Why? Because they are valid projects. They are offering solutions to the marketplace. So if you get a project that is at cents, and all you need to do is just to have patience, because it's a class of asset. You don't buy land today and you sell it tomorrow and you think you're going to be a millionaire. So what I tell people is research, do your own research in a project, buy when it's low. All you need to do is to have patience, just wait for it. If you got Bitcoin in 2011 at $1, which is 100 Kenya shillings, today will be at 50 something thousand dollars. It's good money. You took the risk because you understand it. So are there people making money? Yes, there are people making money, but after they get the right information. Same time, are people losing money? People are losing money. I've had people who come and tell me, I put money in Dogecoin because somebody tweeted about Dogecoin that it's gonna go to $1. You put your money and then it comes down, then you sell at a loss and you say crypto doesn't work. You followed the FUD, you followed that hype. Can you get to understand what you're getting into, and then you can make money. So it's a class of asset that you totally need to understand the risks involved. There are risks involved in any investment, and where there's real, there's also fake.
You know, in business we say the higher the returns, the higher the risk. And you know, it sounds interesting, it sounds beautiful, it sounds great, you know, talking about how much you can make, you know, out of cryptocurrencies. But what a lot of people do not understand is that you need a tremendous amount of wealth in terms of knowledge for you to know what exactly you're investing in, when to know when to invest, how to invest, and what to invest in. So Kaptich, how do you get to know that this is a good crypto to invest in?
All right. There are very many things that one needs to check when they want to buy into a cryptocurrency. Of course, you had Lawrence say there are more than 12,000 of them. So that, of course, gives you a very is it low or high probability? Very low probability in terms of what you're going to buy. So that is why myself and Lawrence, we actually came up with a firm called Decrypt.
Yeah.
Decrypt Edge, that is the firm that we operate, just to help people try and sieve through all that noise. But in simple terms, one of the things is that you need to look at like utility. What is it going to do?
Yeah.
Is it just big talk without nothing? Because we started talking about Dogecoin early in the show. So Dogecoin actually was more or less like somebody was just actually it was a joke. Somebody was just making a joke out of the whole ecosystem, and they say they have something called Dogecoin, and I think it was a figure of a dog. At the moment, you can be surprised how much it is valuable, even the whole market capitalization. But now, if you ask me, in the next 3-4 years, will Dogecoin be there? Of course, probabilities are more or less low, on the lower side, but we don't know. But the point is, if you look at other big projects, let's say, look at the Ethereum, for instance. Ethereum is actually the second cryptocurrency, Ethereum, that came after Bitcoin. So that is like now in definition, it's like an online computer. That's where programmers do the applications there on the Ethereum network. So you see, that is something that is giving value to developers. So meaning it will grow. So those are maybe two of the points that you look at.
Yeah.
There are very many things that it's a whole points, but you have to actually have patience. Which is, as I finish, there's one thing that I think that lacks in the Kenyan society. People always want quick money. You talked about high risk, high return, but people really understand what is high risk. And of course, when you really want quick money, and you're combining with high risk, of course, that's an equation for failing big.
Lawrence, when you go to the internet, I mean, there's a lot of information about cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
But the question lies in, sifting through these numbers, sifting through this tremendous amount of information, and getting to understand that this is good information, this is bad information. How do you get to know that the material that I'm reading on cryptocurrencies, is material that will lead me, to the promised land?
That's a great question, O'Brien, and I think like we mentioned when we started by our own experience of failing, where like we'll just go shift through. Maybe somebody has written a blog about a coin. Even here in Kenya, there are some coins projects that have come up and then they have failed. And then with that notion of somebody has just given you like you're gonna make number of X's in this project, emotions come in, and I usually say when the emotion of fear of missing out, which is FOMO, and greed enters an investor, you're done. So how do you shift through? It's a whole lot of work.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine, out of 12,200 projects, you need to do you need to understand who are the developers. Just to add on what Louis was talking about, what have they done before they came to the crypto space? Who are they selling? I remember there was one of the biggest scam that was done. I think it was called OneCoin. And the selling point of OneCoin was we're going to be bigger than Bitcoin. So you see, somebody is just telling you we're going to be bigger. There are no fundamentals, there's nothing. So when I see a project, let's say, for example, like Ethereum, who are the founders of Ethereum? What are they bringing to the marketplace? Okay, what solutions are they bringing to the marketplace? So you need to take your time to understand. I think we usually have what we call Bitcoin 101s. It happens every Saturday at 10 p.m. We just try to share with the with Kenyans and the world what are the key things you need to check on when you are investing in this kind of assets. And I think one of our show, I think 2 weeks or 1 week ago, we talked about what are the 5 key major things you need to check when you're entering cryptocurrency. Louis has talked to you about 2 of them. The other thing is joining AMA. So it will take you even months before you get to understand this is a project I need to really risk my money. And again, passion. It comes with passion. Not everybody will fall into cryptocurrency space. Just like not everybody deals with gold. Gold is very precious, but how many people do we know that are in gold? Real estate also. Money markets, not everybody is there. But if you have interest in cryptocurrency, I think one of our key, or my own key drive in cryptocurrency is that there are some people I follow coming from a financial background. And one of them said there's the greatest transfer of wealth that is happening. And if you look, blockchain, when it comes to the technology behind cryptocurrency, blockchain is like internet 2.0. Cryptocurrency is just like email when internet started. So when you have that in mind, you will know that very few of these projects will help blockchain attain the level of internet where the internet is. So you need to do a whole lot of research to sieve through what are the ecosystems that are helping people develop and get into a broader space in terms of adoption globally and solution that will see the end of the light.
Yeah, Kaptij, when you look at regulators when it comes to dealing and their comments around digital currencies, they're always very cautious, and we are yet to have a country that has regulations on how to regulate the cryptocurrency market and the digital currency space. And there are some critics who are saying that the digital currency is a bubble that is going to burst. And they're saying that they're giving it 5 years from now. Do you agree with them? Do you see the future in cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, I think what you said actually is what is actually going on out there. And we, of course, you cannot deny or let's say convince. You just offer the facts. That is what I usually say. And coincidentally, I think 2 weeks before, we had a session. They were talking about what is the future of crypto. Where is it really? In fact, the point was how many times has Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency been termed dead? I think it's more than 480 times. So by not zeroing in on crypto, everything else is a bubble. We hear a little bubble. We hear there is a stock bubble. Everything is a cycle. So every time there is the bubble burst, of course, it tends to grow to another level. So we've had, I think, almost 5 or 6 bubbles in terms of cryptocurrency, whereby the price grows and then it collapses. Because I think it's very good for us to define what a bubble is. Then now we can talk about crypto now. So bubble, of course, it's just like a balloon. It goes, then it poops, then of course it grows again. So there has been about 6 bubbles in cryptocurrency, and then any time the bubble gets to burst, it grows to another level. You get new people who have a high level of belief. They see it differently. So that's how it keeps growing. Now, when it comes to regulators, of course, when the bubble pops or when something collapses or crashes, of course, most people lose money. And of course, as a country, authorities tend to now want to protect their citizens on such occasions. So the recent bubble of financial was it 2008? 2009. When they had the financial bubble. Has it grown? How many times? Actually, it has grown. Is it double since then?
More than 2
times. Yeah. So same thing with crypto. It will collapse, then again it will grow again.
Do you see a situation whereby regulators around the world, because they are still grappling with the question on how do you regulate something that you cannot touch, something that you cannot see, something that is just traded in the internet space. So they're still grappling with the issue of how do we develop regulations. Do you see a point whereby regulators around the world are likely to embrace digital currencies as a formal form of trading?
They are already, I can say that they are already. I think we even have countries that have even gone steps ahead and even enacted laws that they are taking now as a legal tender. I think one of the countries is El Salvador.
El Salvador.
Yeah. So you see, I see that's a very confident, forward-looking country. The US, despite all the warnings, they also, I think, what was it, yesterday or 2 days ago, the SEC SCE, I think similar to the CMA of Kenya, say that we're not going to ban crypto. So even the Congress, say the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, say we're going to ban it. So you see, they are like, okay, why is it difficult for them to ban? Because this is something that is used, there's a term called peer-to-peer. If I decide to trade with you and I decide to pay with you in Bitcoin, how does the government come in? It is quite difficult.
Because I watched that, that appearance of Jerome Powell before the House, and also the Securities and Exchange Commission. You know, and what they said was this. I mean, even up to this point, they do not know how to develop regulations, because these are transactions that involve individuals.
Yes.
And they said the reason why we cannot ban it is because it is yet to interfere, with the formal trading channels. But that does not give trading in cryptocurrencies, the green light, because there are still gray areas. So how soon do you think, or do you see the world accepting cryptocurrencies as a legal tender for trading?
It's an ongoing conversation, and of course you've seen the first steps. As I said earlier, we are still at the early adoption stage. So what will make government to rather regulate, it would be like, where are they going to which point are they going to regulate? So and that we've seen already. We've had most countries prompting exchanges. So exchanges are what? These are places where people buy and sell their Bitcoins. So of course, if you have an exchange, meaning you have to be a legal entity. So that's where now government are like, if you are an exchange, you have to register with us. Then now that's where now a bit of regulation is starting to we're starting to see. And of course, with it's still at a very minimal stage, but that is a starting point. What you call KYC, maybe.
I think, yes. In addition to that, I think also, I think why it's still a gray area is because a whole lot of people don't understand the technology, number one, and also they don't understand cryptocurrencies. The minute they'll understand how, like I said, it's better experienced than explained. If you go online and you try to read about blockchain and cryptocurrency, you get more confused than even when you started. So I think that gap of information is what is delaying regulation. That is what delaying regulation. But the minute they get a hand of to understand the whole concept of how does it work. During our research, we've seen countries that have said cryptocurrencies are assets. So you pay capital gains, and then other countries are saying we can only tax crypto at the point of liquidation. Or because number one, nobody will ever know how much you're holding. Okay, so if I'm in Kenya and I have maybe 1 Bitcoin and I need to pay my rent, I need to fuel my car, I need to do all these basic things, expenses I need to pay. I need to convert my Bitcoin to Kenya shillings for me to do that. So most of other countries are saying at the point of liquidation, when you're changing your cryptocurrency to fiat, that's the point we're gonna tax wherever you're liquidating. Other countries are saying, okay, this we can use it as a medium of exchange, because crypto can be an asset. Also, you can use crypto as a medium of exchange where you can pay for goods and services. When you're paying for goods and services, other countries are taking that. At that point of you making payments, there's a certain amount of tax you remit. So I think regulation might take time, but just for regulators to have fully knowledge of what are they regulating.
Tell me this, you have been to countries where cryptocurrencies are acceptable as a form of payment. How does that work?
I think it starts with merchants, number one. Because for example, right now, even here in Kenya, you want to book a flight and you want to pay in cryptocurrency, you can go to cheapair.com. Cheapair.com is an online merchant platform which is global. So you see, it doesn't matter which part of the world you are at for you to pay for your flight using Bitcoin, using Cheapair platform. Okay, so these platforms are the ones that are enabling not only individual people in certain countries to operate, but also to really help cryptocurrency to grow. Another very good example is like B-Forward. B-Forward is one of the biggest car selling companies in Japan. they started accepting Bitcoin way back in 2016. And I remember there was a time, I think 2017, there's a gentleman who came and he's like, these guys have told me I have to buy my car using Bitcoin. They are not accepting cash. So you see, adoption happens with just few people, like PayPal. PayPal right now, they're allowing people to trade. Visa, I've seen Visa, also MasterCard, they're coming up to cryptocurrency. So you see, these are things you carry in your pocket. People know these platforms. They are not like in one country, just one country, they are global. And by the time you experience or you are using them, you come now across cryptocurrency. So I think what will help crypto grow is just that point of experience. Because I've had people saying, you know, I was doing some work online and these guys said they're gonna pay me through PayPal in Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin? You see, that interest didn't come from them wanting to know what cryptocurrency is. It's somebody who forced them to learn about how can I accept my payment through Bitcoin.
And something else, you know, anybody can start a Bitcoin, right?
A cryptocurrency.
I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
Anybody can start a cryptocurrency.
Yes.
And so how do you start your own cryptocurrency, and how do you ensure that this cryptocurrency is going to peak in the market?
Okay, I think it really goes down to the point of why do you want to start a cryptocurrency? What is it that you want to solve? I think another way would look at it is that let's say if you look at, let's say, the supply chain for food, for instance, there are some people who want to document that process in terms of a digital certificate of how that has been happening. So somebody will say, okay, I have this solution built on blockchain. Why? Because blockchain is accessible from anywhere. I think doubling back a bit before I come to that is that today everybody has a phone, a device. I mean, a device is becoming a very powerful tool nowadays. It's what we actually, it's the main thing of how you operate today. So cryptocurrencies now is inbuilt onto that in terms of the money part of it. And I think I mentioned earlier that people need to really go back to the basics. What is money? What is currency? The moment you ask yourself those questions, what is money? What is currency? Then now you can, okay, what solution can I start offering? And of course, not all solutions will be viable. The reason why Bitcoin is where it is because it is offering like a peer-to-peer way of transacting globally without any third party. So if today, let's say when this show, you can have a loyalty program to reward whatever with the best comments on the chat or something with some tokens. So you see that is you are sort of tokenizing the value of the show. So you're putting into a blockchain. So that's how maybe you can. But now what will determine is how many people will want to use it, how many people will agree with the idea. So there's a whole.
So starting a cryptocurrency is one thing.
Yes.
Ensuring that the currency becomes acceptable in the market is now the elephant in the room.
Yes.
So how do you do that, Lawrence?
I think it all boils down to the utility, the use case. Because even if we come up with a project, but it's only us who can use it, the three of us, it will be useless at the end of it all. But if you can come up with a project that is offering clear and easy solutions out there, of course it will find people will find value in it, because the reason as to why you buy something is for exchange of a certain value. You'll never go to the market and buy something you don't really need. Why would you do that? You'll be wasting your finances. So I have to go look at out of all these makes of car, why am I going to this for this car? It's because I've seen much more value. Not that all these other cars are bad. It's because I've seen more value in this car than all these other cars. Now, when it comes to cryptocurrency, it's the same thing. Now,
So it is akin to looking for a niche in something.
Yes.
The selling point of
the solution. The solution the value you bring into the marketplace, and that. I think that boils down to what we mentioned earlier. Out of the 12,200 cryptocurrency, only 3% is predicted to see the end of the tunnel. Why? Because they are offering valid solution to the marketplace.
And when you're talking about 3%, it's quite a small number, right?
It's 360 something.
What will make the others to fail?
Number one, if the projects were started without a use case. We've seen other very good projects also die along the way because the developers, along the way, they have different opinions on what the vision was. So there's that break point, and when that does, the vision will crash, because I would want to start my own. You'd want to do the same thing, but now you're doing. So we have like divided our community. Now what happens? Fights start. So such products also dies. So again, competition. There's somebody who might come with a better project, solution, more faster, more affordable, more. Maybe they have good marketers out there to get their information out there, and it beats your project. Not because it was a bad project, but maybe your roadmap along the way, you slowed down on doing a competition, beat you out of it. And then again, there are people who are looking at a few projects. They combine all the elements in those projects and they put it in one project. So why should I have 5 projects, or else I can have one project that is giving me the same solution? So I think those are some of the key things that will make a whole lot of projects really good.
Well, let's personalize this conversation, and I want to find out from you, Kaptej. If you have $1 million bob today, and you have the option of investing in Bitcoin, or in a cryptocurrency, or buying a 50 by 100 plot somewhere in Kamulu, which option would you go for?
That goes without saying.
You go for the plot?
No. At this point, actually, I wouldn't, because based on where I am. And to answer you, anybody who is at that point of, okay, I have this amount of money, where do I go for a business, do I go for a plot, or do I go for cryptocurrencies? So for me, first of all, is rather define yourself first. What kind of person are you? Are you kind of a long-term investor? Are you somebody who is very afraid of volatility? Because that's another aspect of cryptocurrency. It is very volatile. Today it's at 5.6 million. Next week will be at 3 million. And then you will say, I've lost money. So if you are very risk averse, you need to actually weigh your options. So what you normally recommend as decrypt, as in once you define yourself, then you can say, okay, out of this 1 million, let me try out with 200. You said experience. Try experience it first. And how do you experience it? By of course, get a wallet, install a wallet, learn the few basics. Then of course, the moment you've experienced, then now you get to grow confidence. As you usually say, don't go all in, because there are people, they put in all their money at Dogecoin, it was at the all-time high. And then they were told this is going to $2. Then they were like, yeah, I'll put in everything. Then
it's crashed.
3 weeks later, their 1 million is worth 100 shillings. So they're like, I lost. But they put a little money, they will not be broken-hearted. They'll be like, yeah, I think I can do this again. So that's what I can say. Just define yourself, know what kind of investor are you. At this point, it's actually, it favors, unfortunately, those who are risk averse, those who are willing to step into the unknown. Because once you're there, of course, you will tend to now add that portfolio that you want to grow within yourself.
You see, when you look at there's some relative element between investing in a cryptocurrency and investing in the stock market, because you're buying an asset, so that at some point you're going to liquidate and get your cash. But the beauty about the stock market is that you can track the movement of the of your shares,
Yeah.
you can look at the fundamentals of a company,
Yeah.
whether it's it's long-term projections,
Yeah.
and make informed decisions.
Yeah.
But for somebody who wants to invest in a cryptocurrency,
Yeah.
I mean, what fundamentals do you have to look for? When you before you decide, I have $1 million bob here and want to invest in a cryptocurrency.
Yeah, maybe Lawrence can.
I think for one thing I tell people, if you're very new in the crypto, number one, go for the cryptos that have been there for a long time. Something like Bitcoin.
So you're talking about Bitcoin,
Ethereum. For them, they have already, had their test of times, so many times. And that will give you the experience Louis is talking about.
But where do you buy, Bitcoin at $58,000?
There are Bitcoin exchanges, like in Kenya, we had BitPesa, which is now Azar Group. I don't know whether it's still in operation. We have Belfrix. We have Binance, where it's an exchange where you can do peer-to-peer. You can even load money via M-Pesa there and just try it out. Just buy any cryptocurrency, which is an exchange. But again, even before you go there are key fundamentals you need to know. Where do I keep my asset? Security. How do I safely secure my assets? After I buy, like Louis has said, what kind of an investor am I? You need to come up with a strategy of what percentage of increment do I want to see my money grow at. There are people who will look at 10%. There are people who will think, I want my money to double. There are people who are thinking 10 years, like investors like Warren Buffett. They invest and they forget about their investments. They come back later to really take it. What kind of a person are you when you're coming on board? So it's very easy to buy cryptocurrency because we have platforms like local Bitcoins, exchanges where you just need your mobile phone, download it, secure it, know how to secure it, and then you can start experiencing little by little. Now, what to invest in? What to invest in, I always tell people, if you're a newbie, don't try anything new. Go for the cryptos that have already been tested by the market and they have proven. Like Bitcoin is 12 years old. Now, if you look globally and you look at all the financial institutions, where are they putting their money? In Bitcoin. Why are they not buying Dogecoin? Why are they not buying all these other coins that are there? Because we have 3 categories of how you can know what to invest in crypto. We have high risk, low return, mid risk, mid returns, and then high risk, high return. So for you to go for a high risk, high return, and you are a new person, is what Louise was talking about. You can see a crypto at maybe $100, and tonight is at $0.1. If you are not read fundamentals, you'll quit. But if you totally understand that these are crypto which 5 years from now it will have gone past maybe 1,000, you'll keep on holding. So for me, what do I buy if I'm a newbie? Experience with the cryptos that have already been tested and they have proven that they are good cryptos. Now, if you really want to invest in other cryptos, seek alternatives from people who are doing research and analysis. They can guide you through because, of course, they have had experience. They have invested in what we call cryptos that don't have any use cases and they have lost money. They have invested in mid-level kind of investments and they've already maybe have the low risk. So they can guide you through.
Lawrence, would you advise your grandmother who is 75 years old to become a Bitcoin investor? I mean, to become a cryptocurrency investor?
Yes, I would. I've told like all my brothers, my sisters, my folks, I've told them, just put part of your portfolio in the cryptocurrency space.
But look, I mean, you're talking about somebody who is 70-something years old, and of course, their level of knowledge in terms of tradings and fundamentals of a company, is limited. So aren't you misadvising them?
I'm not misadvising them because I remember, let me just give an example with when mobile money came. You would send maybe your grandma some money and she's like, you've not sent your kutoa, the fee to withdraw. How does she know that you've not sent money to withdraw? Because she has experienced it. anything when it's new, it's complicated to everybody.
Yep.
But once you experience it once, twice, you're good to go. So for me, yes, I'll go ahead and show them practically, like, mom, this is how you download a wallet. Most of them have smartphones. This is how you download your wallet. This is how you move your money from your mobile money app to these assets to buy. Now for them, you have to tell them this is what you need to invest in. And also because for them, I think the younger generation are the people who are looking for the microwave kind of making money, instant get rich kind of schemes. They want to become the millionaire the next day. But the older generation are people who think long term. These are people who are used to buying stocks, holding for 10 years, buying real estate, and they can stay for 30 years with them. So for them, it's a person who can put maybe money, $1,000, maybe in Bitcoin today at 50 something $1,000, and they can wait 5 years from now. If Bitcoin hits $100,000, maybe in some years to come, you can advise them. This is now the right time for you to exit. So yes, I can advise, but through practically showing them this is how it's done. Yes.
And of course, after taking them through the risks and opportunities and the challenges involved.
Yes.
So that you arm them with information.
Yeah. Yes.
Because information is key here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe on this, before but you don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin. That's one thing we need to clarify. You don't need to buy like one is 5.9 or 6 million right now. You don't need to buy a whole. You can buy fractions. We call them satoshis. So you can even buy Bitcoin for 1,000 shillings. That's 0.00 something of a Bitcoin. And then, with time. And
then you wait for it to appreciate.
Yeah.
You are talking about thousands of cryptocurrencies in the market.
Yeah.
For somebody who is not rich enough, to afford a Bitcoin, somebody who has 3,000, 10,000 shillings, 5,000 shillings, where would you advise them to invest in?
Okay, I think that's a very direct question, which of course it would be sort of. I wouldn't do justice to that question by telling you buy this and this and this. First of all, someone needs to. It goes back to what I said earlier. Okay, you have 10,000 shillings, for instance. What kind of investor are you? Do you want to buy to hold for 1 year or to buy for 2 years or 3 years? So once you've defined that, then now you can buy then Ethereum. So you can buy Bitcoin, or you can buy Cardano. There are very many, like maybe the top 10. The moment you've seen, because the point that you want to drive is try and do the transfers, convert your physical cash into crypto. Then after maybe you notice some gains, convert them back into Kenya shillings. Then now you'll be okay. So it really works. Then now you grow confidence. Then now you can now dig deeper in. So I say these are financial advice. That's one thing again that we have to be very clear, because they are undefined kind of assets. So we need to be very careful on how we're going to recommend. But there are a whole lot of cryptocurrencies you can get into. But first, after you've understood the whole concept.
Look, we are talking about virtual currencies stored in a virtual wallet.
Yeah.
Where they are locked through a password, or a PIN or something like that. What happens if you forget your password or your PIN?
That's a very good question, O'Brien. And I'll tell you, like I said, we've gone through experience. I remember I had a wallet that I forgot my private key. And those are cryptos that are gone. Those are some of the...
So you lose them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are some of the...
There's no...
Regardless of how much you've invested.
Yeah, because you cannot get access.
Yes.
And nobody else can access them.
Yeah, it's only you who has the access.
So you can imagine what went through my head after I realized I could not find my private key. So why we keep on insisting on can you learn is because part of how you learn is also how do you secure your assets.
So let me ask you this. I have invested in cryptocurrency A. Let's say I have put 10M.
Yeah.
And of course I have my private key.
Yeah.
So what happens in case I die?
Yeah, I think it actually, it's very simple. Nowadays, I think, as you say, the way we are investing into assets is changing. You know, this is digital, this is virtual. There's no paper trail. There's no certificate that you have. It's all on your phone or maybe on your laptop. So the number one thing that you do as part of the onboarding process is when you buy, let's say, a cryptocurrency. Let's say you bought Bitcoin. Of course, you need to. You don't just. I mean, unfortunately, I think if you, let's say, you bought land somewhere and you don't tell anybody of your, maybe your wife or your brother or your close or even your lawyer that I've invested in land somewhere. The day, unfortunately, that maybe you pass on, that land will not see the light of day because no one knows that.
But you see, the beauty about your example is that we have what we call the unclaimed financial assets.
Yeah.
You see where a company or an individual can report that there is this asset here, it has been lying here, we do not know the owner. So they will go, to the media and try to trace who actually is the owner. But that is not the case for digital currencies.
So the case for digital currencies is quite special because it's an emerging asset class. So we are now defining how that is happening. And one way of defining that is have we normally recommend even a diary, a small diary that you take note of your holdings, of your let's say if you have a will, put it that I own X amount of Bitcoins.
And this is my password.
And so now there's now an element on how you can now secure the what we call multi-signatures. That's the technical part of which we take people through. You can have, let's say, password split into 4. 2 of them your lawyer has it. 2 of them maybe your wife has it. So and it falls part of the will. So they cannot sell it or the lawyer cannot sell it because it's called a multi-signature. So that's now where we are heading into. That's why we really insist that education is very important, knowing those steps so you don't make a mistake. I mean, there is actually a very sad story that happened, I think a few years ago. Somebody lost access to very many Bitcoins actually on a laptop, but they can't get it. So that actually is, that's why it's very important that people take note of that process. It's not about fast, just slow steps here.
You have to take, the right amount of time for you to understand it. Gentlemen, because we have to come to the end, and of course this is such a wide topic that we cannot exhaust it on this platform alone. Of course, we'll keep on engaging so that we can allow people to understand what cryptocurrencies, the risks involved, the opportunities, and how you get to a point whereby now you can say, I have finally made it. Before I let you go, Lawrence, what would be your advice to people listening and watching this program, and they are yet in a state of, so what do I do and where do I go from here? I want to become an investor and I want to invest my money in crypto assets. Where do I go from here?
That's a very good question, O'Brien. And for me, it boils down to look for people who are not selling anything. That's number one. They're offering information. And that's the reason as to why when you ask what can you invest in, we cannot tell somebody go and buy these directly. We'll give you info first, and then we tell you do your own research. Do your own research even before you put your money over there. So for us, like at Decrypt Edge Consultants, we help people just learn the basics. Myself and Louis, we started that company 2-3 years ago. Why? Just to bridge the gap of information. Because I remember coming back 2018, and I was asking people, do you know Bitcoin? And everybody was telling me it's a scam. So having experienced it abroad, and then I come and people are saying it's a scam, I saw that that gap. And for us, we are like, can we pass the right information? Can you get the right information? Yes, it's out there. Don't buy hype. That's another thing I tell people. Don't follow the green market. I remember like 2018, there are people who were telling if you have part of your portfolio, when Bitcoin was below 300 and 400,000 Kenya shillings, we'll tell people, why don't you put part of your portfolio in Bitcoin? Because market has corrected down, it's going to come up. Now, again, when Bitcoin hit 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, that's when somebody is calling you. Oh, are you still in cryptocurrency? And you tell them, yes. Can I invest right now? And you're like, okay, can you learn first? and they're like, no, I've seen you can make money. It was at 400,000, right now it's at 4 million, you can make money. So one thing I tell people is, in learning, there's the L, then earning. So in the cryptocurrency space, learn first, remove the L, then you'll start earning.
Very good.
And there are platforms that you can do that. The crypto edge is just part of it.
Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for your insight and, of course, for your advice to people who are watching this program. And, of course, let's keep engaging, and we see where we go from here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Very good. And, of course, we have been having this conversation around cryptocurrency, the do's and the don'ts. As always remember, this is a new territory. You have to take time to understand it, to understand the risks, and of course to know the way out and the way in when it comes to the investments around the cryptocurrencies. This is BizCheck. We are live from Broadcasting House, and of course where we keep you updated with what is happening around the country, where we have our reporters on the ground tracking the news just for you. Coming up next, our discussion around the mixed-use development concept. Is it picking up here in Kenya? And of course, what are the returns? That conversation is coming up after this.
Guidelines that were announced by some stakeholders. And the answer is these guidelines are being operationalized, the constitutional principles. And you will notice that even when you get a copy of the guidelines, we have clearly stated that they are being issued pursuant to the constitutional principles. So it is just an instrument to operationalize what the Constitution has already mandated the Commission to discharge. So that was the final question. Yes, please.
Yes, it's okay. You say that you'll determine this after you receive the information and you analyze. But looking at the wage structure in the public sector, do you know how much goes to basic pay and how much goes to allowances? And then for the second question, how does the clarify? Because the county assemblies have already received this bill. And when you speak to governors, they are saying that they want to be treated like the rest of state officers. If you're talking about someone like the president. And this is a cost that will go to the county revenue, or rather the county funds. So will you wait until they pass these bills, or is this something that you can do at least to bring light to the people and the counties?
On the first one, in terms of do we know the ratio, yes. On average, the ratio of allowances to the gross pay is 48%. But it ranges up to 259%. So it's a whole range, but on average it's 48%. So in other words, they are pay more than 200% of their gross pay. So that's the wide range, and that's one of the reasons why we're saying it's equitable, because it distorts your pay and it creates disparities in. So that is in terms of the ratio of allowances. But there is also, we're then also split remunerative and facilitative. Then the remunerative allowances is 70% and only 30% is facilitative. So that is within the allowances themselves. But of gross pay, it's 48%. Okay. Now, you then asked the second question as a follow-up to the response on the County Assembly's bill on the pension. As stated by my fellow commissioner, it's only the commission that has the mandate to set a benefit for any state officer. The governors and the members of county assemblies are state have the mandate at all to set their own benefit. The commission has given guidelines to what they need to do. Is there anything we can do now? Has not been passed, right? But definitely, passed, the commission will take the steps, because remuneration.
Okay, so my name is Peter Muru from
I can't wait to be back in school.
Watoto, it's important for you to learn how to properly wear your mask, to stretch your arms, social distance, and properly wash your hands this COVID-19 season.
Which idea, Elsa?
Join Captain Tumaini this Saturday on Big Mind at 9 to 10 a.m. to learn more.
This program was made possible through the support of USAID and Ministry of Health.
Kutoka Pwani.
Kuleta Huduma Center ilikuwa kitu kizuri kwa sababu unapata huduma zote under one roof.
Hadi katika milima ya kuvutia ya Taita Taveta.
Niko hapa Huduma Center hapa saa hii, nimeonyeshwa kila kitu na nishukuru. Siwezi kutafuta tiketi ya kwenda mpaka huko.
Na kuelekea hadi maeneo tambarare ya Maasai.
Mara nyingine nilikuwa naamka mapema niende kupanga laini, lakini hapa nimekuja ile masaa nimechukua almost 10 minutes.
It's a game changer. Imeleta serikali na mwananchi pamoja.
Kwani mimi pale ninapoenda kumwona Dr. Zero huwa na umwona.
So utakumaanisha kuwa mimi na shida ya akili, sio?
Hii nyumba imekuwa fumbo. Sielewi, sijui kuendelea nini.
I'm tired. Maybe you can play later.
Na sulikuwa uendelea tu vizuri mama.
Unaitabidi the next of kin ndo atie saini, ambaye ni Maya.
Wakili, hatuna muda wa kupoteza.
Between 30 and 40% of all buildings in Kenya are considered to be unfit for human occupation. The verdict: rebuild or demolish. But what is the way forward?
A lot of buildings have been found to be unfit for occupation, and this is after an investigation was carried out by NCA and the National Building Inspectorate, and especially on the eastern parts of Nairobi, where there is a lot of development in the so-called low-cost housing.
This week on Inside Government, we discuss the safety of our buildings with the chairman of Boards of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors, Sylvester Muli Architect, right here on KBC Channel.
Welcome back. You're watching BizCheck, and of course we are live from Broadcasting House, where wholesome conversations around money, business, and of course economy takes place. This morning, of course, we've been discussing issues around cryptocurrency, how to go around the murky waters of investing in cryptocurrencies, and of course you have heard it all from the gentleman. Time now to shift gears and of course discuss now the real estate industry. Did you ever know that Buruburu Estate here in Nairobi was one of the earliest investment in mixed-use development? Yeah, and I'm talking about how many years? Almost 50 years ago. Well, the concept is now gaining pace, with multiple investors angling for a piece of the pie. And there are many developments that are taking place, not just here in Nairobi, but in many parts of this country, from Mombasa to Kiambu. There are so many MUDs that are currently under construction. Helping us with this conversation is Kioko Mumo Kianga. He's the development manager at Mivida Homes, which is one of the developers of Garden Estate. Thank you very much indeed, Mumo, for finding time to be with us here.
Thank you, O'Brien, for having me.
Help us understand, first of all, what is a mixed-use development concept?
Yeah, it's a good question. So a mixed-use development scheme is essentially where you have multiple uses on anything from an acre to 20, 30, 40, 100 acres. But what I mean by multiple uses is you may have a commercial component, so offices and retail. At the same time, you might also have apartments and townhouses and residential, all within a gated sort of estate with controlled access and security and all these things. And so there are multiple benefits of such a scheme, as you can imagine.
I've seen a situation whereby people would say that if you have an apartment and then you have a shop, you have a butchery, you have a hotel, that would still be classified as a mixed-use development. Is that the case?
Yes and no. I think it's important to understand in terms of institutional mixed-use schemes, there's a difference between what you'll find in different areas where you quite rightly you'll have a big residential complex, but to support the residents within that complex, they will put a butchery, a small commercial shop. That wouldn't be called a mixed-use scheme. That is generally a residential development with supporting uses for the tenants and residents within that scheme. Yeah.
So what classifies a development to be called an MUD?
I think it's in the scale of the development and the intention by the developer. So at Garden City, for example, it was quite clear in the beginning that we wanted to develop a mall. And also with that develop apartments and townhouses, and then with that develop an office component as well. And all these three, at the scale they're in, we built maybe 20,000 square meters of grade A offices, which are currently leasing. The mall is around 35,000 square meters of retail space, and the apartments and townhouses around 215 of them in total. So that scale would classify Garden City as a mixed-use development.
And these days, I mean, you have so many of them, from Garden City to Tattoo City to the Gara housing scheme, whereby you have tenants, you have shops, you have walkways and all this. There's so much. Why is this concept now becoming so popular?
I think the simple answer, convenience. It's all about convenience. And the idea is for a developer who is looking at the end user, whether it's the person coming to the office or the person coming to use the mall or the person living in the apartments, to create an environment that sustains a lot of convenience for the people who will be using the space. So for example, at Garden City, if you're living there, you can very quickly drop by the mall and do your shopping. If you're also working there, you can imagine within a very short amount of time, you're doing so many things that are generally not requiring you to get into a car and drive around, and issues of traffic and all of this. So it's that convenience that's driving it, and we're seeing a lot of end users and buyers and offices and retail retailers looking to that convenience as a key thing for them. So we're trying to answer that that demand. And then if you also take a step back and you look at Nairobi generally, and you look at some of the issues that are keeping you from enjoying that kind of convenience, traffic, pollution, all these things, you can see why the end user has that kind of mindset towards mixed-use schemes. Yeah.
And are you convinced that the market is ripe for the kind of investment skills that we are seeing in MUDs? Because there are so many and they're scattered all over the country.
That's
true. From Mombasa, Nairobi, Kisumu, they're all over the place. And the question is, is the uptake as good as the number of development projects that are currently underway?
So I'd say one thing. I think when we look at one of the main users within mixed-use schemes, retail, for example, where the malls, for example, I think the size of that is steadily going to reduce. You're not going to have very many Garden City or Two River malls or the hub Karens. Like, that's not going to be something that can be sustained within Nairobi. But in different localities, Mombasa, where you haven't had that level of investment, for sure that demand is still there. At the end of it, it's all about creating business and giving people opportunities to show off their wares, right, within the mall. And I think that demand is always going to be there. So that the only difference probably is that the scale of the malls is going to reduce over time. And I think we're already seeing that. And there's also now what you're seeing a lot of in these neighborhoods, within Nairobi, where you have convenience retail centers coming up within residential estates and neighborhoods. There's a lot of that going on, and so you have to look at that as something that's telling you, the market is telling you, that generally, convenience is still important, because the reason the convenience store in these areas is the demand is there is because people can, on their way home, pass by, pick up some milk and bread, and then or do some other shopping, go to the salon and all these other things on their way home or on their way to work. So that level of convenience is always going to be something people want. And I think decentralizing retail from these big centers is in the future going to be something you see a lot of.
Yeah, it's true that we have gotten to a saturation levels in terms of the number of malls that you have here in Nairobi, for example. And but in a mixed-use development concept, a retail center is supposed to be like the magnet, it's supposed to be like the anchor project, so if we have gotten to a point whereby we have reached the saturation levels for malls, so what is going to attract residents in an MUD?
So the attraction is always going to be just business. Within a mall, it's going to be business. At Garden City, our footfall numbers have been very steady and very high over the past, since it was launched. And you'll find a lot of businesses want to take advantage of those footfall numbers, right? We've had a tumultuous time in the retail industry, with Nakumatt and all these other issues, ShopRite, for example. However, I think generally the ability to attract people to these centers is what's going to sustain people and other retailers wanting to be in those centers. And I think that's going to continue over time. The benefit of a mixed-use scheme, especially if you've got large trunks of land, is that you can then build supporting infrastructure and uses that will support that retail center and support each other, really. So, our first project as Mivida Homes is at Garden City. And the benefit of that is we're bringing maybe 600 units to the market, and that's going to be 700, 800 tenants and residents who will then be able to benefit from the mall and benefit from the offices that we'll be building. In the future, we look to bringing in a hospital as well, and data centers and a hotel. So the opportunities to create synergies with large tracts of land in well-located areas by having different uses is quite high.
And you operate within a radius of less than 20 kilometers from one of the largest shopping malls in Africa, in the name of Two Rivers. I mean, let's face it, the malling culture, has gone through a serious challenge, especially with COVID-19. And we have seen a number of, tenants, opting to vacate because of falling customer numbers.
Exactly.
Do you think Nairobi still has more space for new players in the market?
I would say the answer is yes and no, and I'll qualify it. So yes, there's space for more players in the retail center, and residential development, always going to be a lot of demand. But I would say that the demand or the focus going forward is, in my view, not going to be large malls, because already, if you look at it geographically, the spread of large malls is already sort of cornered Nairobians, right? So you've got Two Rivers, you've got Garden City, you've got in Karen, there's a lot of malls that have come up there. You've got, within the spread of that, you've got Kimani and Kileleshwa that already has so many malls. So I'd say the focus going forward is going to be convenience retail. The impact of COVID has been unprecedented, I'll be honest. Generally, it's affected businesses and people within malls that are sort of what we would have called grade A malls, such as Garden City, Two Rivers, the Hub. I think a lot of businesses have seen generally people's spending power has reduced because of COVID, but it doesn't mean that Kenyans are not resilient. And over time we're seeing, and it's starting even now, the footfall numbers start picking up again. Businesses start, sort of getting a higher turnover. So there's always going to be market shocks. The key is to have a development that can sustain those, to be well located. And I think Garden City, Two Rivers, and all of these other malls are at that position generally.
Mm-hmm. Let's, for example, look at Garden City. At the height of COVID-19, I mean, whereby the cessation of movement was in place, and interactions were highly discouraged. Your more foot traffic dropped by what margin?
I'd say 20%.
20%?
20%, 30%, yeah, generally. But there's a lot of other factors that were happening. We lost ShopRite, right?
Yeah.
And before that, we lost Nakumatt. But now we've got a very stable tenant as in Carrefour. So the bringing on board Carrefour has also given a lot of people within the neighborhood a lot of confidence and reason to visit the mall, and we're seeing that sort of picking up. COVID protocols, and generally in Kenya, people understand that COVID has been there. And but it's something that for the next foreseeable future we're going to have to still live with.
Did you lose clients?
We did.
Because of COVID?
We've lost
How
clients.
many?
People have pulled out of the retail center, but at the same time others have come in.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of that sort of give and take within the mall. So on a net, we've actually retained the clients in terms of number of clients, even though there were people who pulled out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is your current occupation rate?
I'd say we're at 85%.
85%. For how long have you been at 85%?
I think pre-COVID we were punching at 90%, but now with COVID, 85%, and we're seeing that number start picking up.
Starting to pick it up.
Oh, for sure. So interest and demand is also growing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you have new player or new tenants in the pipeline.
Yeah, for sure.
And what about in your residential apartments?
So there's two different residential developments at Garden City. We have the higher income GC residences, we call them, where we had townhouses and apartments. And funny enough, we are now probably 90% leased on our townhouses development, and that has been through COVID. The leasing and uptake has been very high. The apartments as well has sustained sort of their occupancy levels. We haven't seen a dramatic shift. A lot of that is because of, and we're grateful for this, the businesses that are around Babadogo, the industries and all of these things are, businesses that can, the senior management are finding Garden City a very convenient place to live. But now we're also developing a middle-income product at Mivida Homes within the Garden City estate. An uptake of that in terms of sales has been through COVID last year. I think March to September was tough, right? As it was for, I think, every other business and every other developer. But those numbers have started picking up now. I think we've had the best month this month of September in terms of sales this year and last year combined. So it's looking very, very good going forward. I think it points again to the resilience, and it's something that as a developer we're grateful for, to be honest.
And when you look at even the impact of COVID-19, and one of the areas that have been hardest hit is the purchasing power, among Kenyans. People have lost jobs, and people have gone through pay cuts. Companies have downsized and reorganized their workforce. Have you also been forced to review the cost of your units?
So yes and no, right? And I'll qualify that again. So for the Mivida product, the unit pricing hasn't dramatically been revised. And that's because people have still been coming, especially this past couple of months. And we've seen people still buy the units at the listed price. And, there are people who, because of COVID, and who bought initially before COVID, have had, issues with the financial cash flow. So they weren't able to keep up with the payments. And we said to them, look, we understand, right? We understand that this is an unprecedented time. You've been impacted by this. You didn't plan for it. What we can do for you is extend your payment terms, right? So even though the pricing hasn't dramatically shifted, what we've done is been flexible with our payment terms to allow buyers more time to recover from the shock of COVID. And, the payment terms now are even extending beyond completion of the project. So, it's something that we are trying very hard to be flexible about, because we understand. Yeah, we understand.
And of course, in terms of investment, I mean, look, Garden City is a major investment. You're talking about 7-point-something billion shillings invested so far, with almost 3 other billion shillings, to be invested. And so you're talking about a total investment portfolio of about 10.5 billion shillings. How has COVID impacted your anchor investor in the name of Actis in helping in the rollout of more projects?
It's a very good question, Brian. So the good thing with our shareholders, Actis, and for Mivida, we have another shareholder called Shapoji Palonji. They're based out of India. Actis is a private equity fund based out of the UK. And they have multiple investments, not just in real estate, in energy and infrastructure across the world. So they're they're set up to withstand shocks like these, right? I think real estate is probably their smallest portfolio, right? But we're talking about $500 million of committed capital, for the real estate fund. Energy and infrastructure is in the billions. So they are, let's say, very liquid, but also very smart in how they deploy their capital. So, for example, the reason why, even through COVID, we've still been able to continue with construction at Garden City with Mivida is because of that sort of liquidity that they bring to the table, but also because they've invested in a team that's able to sort of manage these issues that come with COVID.
Yeah. And in terms of completion and handover of project to investors, how has it been impacted by COVID?
Yeah, so again, with Mivida, there's been no impact. We stopped for 2 months construction, and that was just so that we could understand how better to protect the people who are working on the site, right? Because that still had to keep going.
And of course, 2 months at a construction site, it's
a serious time.
It's a serious delay.
Exactly. But we've seen worse, and I think the reasons for it were
What was the worst you've ever seen?
Well, projects have been delayed for 2 years, 3 years, for multiple reasons. I think COVID is a good reason to slow down construction, even if it's by 2 months. I think it's a good reason, especially if you're doing it to protect the workers, right? To find ways to protect them, because they're going to be working side by side. The last thing you want is for COVID to start spreading within sort of your construction site. And I must say that the National Construction Agency, their protocols have been spot on. We've used them, and we've kept that standard throughout. Exactly. Sorry, Brian, I just wanted to say that despite the 2 month delay, we've pushed very hard to catch up in timelines as well. Yeah.
And of course, I mean, one of the worst nightmares of a developer is delays, because it leads to, cost overruns. How has the case been for you?
So it's been, like you said, there's always that impact of cost overruns, and there's always that opportunity for it to become something that is unsustainable, because also you can't really start passing those cost overruns to your buyers, right? So we've, through the team, through our finance team and our accounts team, managed to, and our projects team managed to ensure that through cash flow management, we are not actually spending more than we are able to. So that's been a good thing that we've been able to manage within the team. Exactly.
But by what margin has your investment been impacted by the delays?
So the delays usually is an impact on what we call preliminaries within a construction sort of contract, and prelims are basically what the contractor needs to keep the project running through the months. And with those 2 months, I think the impact has been maybe 10 million, 15 million shillings. Which is the price of a 3-bed unit, and that's something that we've had to absorb. But at the same time, we've found other ways to make savings without impacting the quality of the project or the safety of the project. Yeah.
And of course, if there is a segment of the market that has been hardest hit by COVID-19 is the middle income class, because they are always in a very precarious financial situation. I mean, they are one step away from being classified as wealthy, and they're one step away from being classified as poor. I mean, that's a tragedy of middle class here in Kenya. So how then are you saying that you haven't seen a knock-off impact in terms of sales?
No, we have. So before COVID, we launched our sales at Mivida in August 2019, and between that time and March last year, we were selling in double digits every month, right? So 15 units a month, and it was great. We were, it was fantastic. The reception was great, exactly. And then obviously COVID hits, and those numbers drop down to single digits numbers, right? And those single digit numbers are still what we are seeing, except it's getting higher now. Right, so we were impacted by that, and I think what we have resisted is the temptation to drop prices because we still believe in the product we are offering, and because of the success story at the initial launch, that has given us a lot more confidence. And even at these prices, buyers are still coming in. So there's a way to balance sort of these types of shocks. We are fortunate in our ability to weather the storm, right, because of Actis and Shapoji Palonji, and we're still able to cash flow construction using their equity, and that's been something that's been a great boost for us. And I think a lot of buyers have seen that and have seen their confidence grow in us, and because of that, they've come and put their money with us, and that's something that I think on balance is helping us sort of navigate these murky waters of COVID.
In your opinion, I mean, is there anything that you believe the government can do to help offset this kind of a problem?
I tend to lean more on what private sector can do, and I think what the government initially did with sort of with the interventions with the banks, and I think there was also there's some shock absorbers they gave to clients who had taken loans through the CBK and things like those. So I think it was great that they did that. For us within the construction industry, I don't know if there's anything the government can do to support developers, private developers, financially. But for sure, I think one of the key ways is to keep, approving projects in a timely manner, new projects in a timely manner. We've seen a lot of infrastructure development that's now at a macro level. Roads being built that are connecting now parts of the city that weren't previously accessible. That's great, that assists us in the long term. But if you've launched a project and you get hit by COVID, it's very difficult to then turn to the government and say, Serikali's idea. It's very difficult. It's very difficult.
And I mean, look, when you look at your target market, you're looking at, the middle to higher income groups. But we're also seeing a lot of shift, in terms of refocusing the market, to the lower income group. How comes you have not been tempted or been bitten by that bug?
We've been tempted, we've been bitten hard. And I think one of the things you'll see from Evida Homes going forward is a focus on that group in terms of unit prices and the product type.
And you're talking about a unit price of how much?
Below 5 million shillings. Below 5 million shillings. And what we're trying to figure out now, and it's a huge...
that is for a 3-bedroom or
for a 2-bedroom unit. I think for a 3-bedroom you'll be punching at 7 or 9 million shillings. In fact, our second phase at Garden City is going to be around those prices. So, we have to also just be aware of what the market is telling us, right? The market is telling us quite clearly, look, at this level, there is a lot more demand because there hasn't been a lot of supply, right? And, we are saying, well, why don't we try and figure out how we can tap into that demand and give people quality units at good prices.
And so, I mean, how do you mix the two in one environment? On one hand, you have investment for high-end clients, and then next door you have investment for low-end clients. How do you mix the two? I mean, without offending the other group.
No, look, I think generally the chances of offending people are very low. Kenyans enjoy community. And I think part of
but people must keep lanes.
Yeah, they must keep lanes. But we don't have that ideology. We don't, and we say, look. So insofar as you can afford to be at Garden City and to purchase a unit with Mivida, then you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to stay with us. And even if the prices, we've got townhouses that are now costing 26 million shillings, just next door. Right, to a 3-bedroom apartment that's selling for 16 million shillings and a 2-bed that's selling at 12 million shillings. So that kind of relationship, there's nothing wrong with that. Kenyans don't have, I think, and from what we've seen, they don't have that kind of classification in terms of community. They're very happy to live with each other as long as you're not sharing amenities and things like those where you're sort of the livability aspect is compromised.
And one would also say that when you're quoting a 2-bedroom unit, at 4 million shillings, that would be classified still on the higher end. Are you looking at a situation whereby you're likely to come up with a similar development whereby somebody who has 3 point something, 2 point something would be able to get a unit?
So that market is difficult to crack. I'll be very honest with you, O'Brien. It's very difficult to crack because the cost of construction is still high. You're still paying the same amount for cement and for steel, right? And unfortunately, the land valuations in Nairobi generally have just been on the up and up. So that's been a challenge for us. In the future, yes, we'll be looking at playing in that market, but you'll find that it'll be, within the environs of Nairobi. So Kiambu County, Machakos County, Kajiado, where the land prices are still low enough for us to go into and still offer that kind of price for a unit.
When you look at the market for high-end units in Nairobi and mid-range market, do you believe there is still room for more?
I think there's been a shift. I think where there's room for a lot of scale and a lot of development is in your lower middle. And I think that's been an untapped and unsupplied market. When you start going higher and higher, there's been a lot of supply in those sort of different segments in residential. And, we're seeing that unless you've got a very compelling development that offers something that you can't find elsewhere, then you're going to struggle with sales. But at the lower level, the sales there are very high, very high. Yeah. And we've seen that with different developers that we are in touch with, and we know because the industry is very small. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of that, and it's primarily driven by investors, and it's young investors, 25 to 40, who are looking at those units and seeing a very an opportunity to invest in an asset that holds value, right? And real estate does that. It holds value and increases over time. So that's what we're seeing from the market here.
And of course, now we are seeing development shifting out of Nairobi, to the fringe counties of Kiambu, of Machakos, of Kajiado, Murang'a, and so much. Where would you bet is the next biggest development destination in this country?
That's interesting. It's a good question. I think I would say, and it's something we're monitoring quite closely, generally developments will go where infrastructure goes. So where you've seen the expressway, and Kiambu County is not far, right, in terms of its borders with Nairobi, and neither is Machakos. Machakos borders is in just at the airport, so you're not talking being very far from Nairobi, and the same for Kiambu. But where you have large infrastructure developments that increase people's ability to get to where your development is, that's where you're going to see the shift. And at the moment, it's Kiambu County, because there's a lot of investment there. It's Machakos County, there's a lot of investment there with the expressway, and I think that's where you're going to see in the future a lot of developments coming up, residential and malls and etc.
Now that you're talking about, the Nairobi Expressway, what do you think will be the impact of the expressway on the local property market?
Well, if you look at it from a theoretical standpoint, generally where you have investments in infrastructure, roads, and that shift mass public from corners of a city, generally the spread follows that investment. And what I mean by that is land values will spread out, right? Because there's now more access to cheaper land in different areas because of that investment, and following that will be developments, and people wanting to live farther away from the city for all the reasons we know: pollution, congestion, concrete jungle, everything that we see now within the CBD of Nairobi. So there'll be a good reason for demand to shift. There'll be a good reason for supply to also shift. And it's something we commend the government for as developers, because this investment has been long overdue and we're glad it's happening.
In the interest of time, because we have to come to an end, the government is also expected to start the construction of the Mau Summit expressway that is going to ease communication or travel time between Nairobi and the counties of Nakuru. Are you seeing a situation whereby a lot of investment is also likely to shift from the so-called the star counties of Kajiado, Nairobi, Kiambu, and Machakos to Nakuru County?
Maybe for that kind of development that's going into these other far-reaching, well, not far, but these counties that are big distance from Nairobi, what you might find is an easier transportation of goods. So agriculture, industry, manufacturing. So that might be the shift towards those areas going forward with these sorts of investments.
You don't foresee a situation whereby somebody is likely to live in Nakuru and work in Mombasa, in Nairobi, or live in Nairobi and work in Nakuru once the highway is complete?
It's very possible. It's very possible. It's very possible. I think you'll find there is a market that will want to do that. But I think majority, because between Nairobi and Nakuru, there's a lot of land that will be opened up. And, if you have a development closer to Nairobi than to Nakuru, more than likely you're going to get a lot of demand for that over time than a development in Nakuru, for example, if it's residential, just to keep it. So that's probably how it will play out. But logistics, in these different areas where transportation of goods can happen quicker because the roads have been upgraded, for sure.
For sure. As Mivida, once you're done with Nairobi, where do you plan to go from here?
It's a good question. We initially have a plan of going towards the different counties. Mombasa is one of them, Nanyuki, Eldoret, and there's a lot of research that will inform where we actually go. And depending on our success levels, and we're hoping that we are successful in these different counties, we will also look to go and spread our wings outside of Kenya, because the housing gap generally in Africa is still very high and supply is still very low. So those are the opportunities that are there for Mivida, and it's something that we want to sort of tap into. But first, you know, Nairobi's heart is where the home is, where the heart is, and that's where we are, and that's what we are trying to capture. Yeah.
Finally, where do you see development of mixed use in Kenya going in the next 5 years?
Well, it's going to be a very interesting time, O'Brien, and we look forward to see how it changes. But in my mind, I think the scale of mixed use developments are going to shrink, are going to become smaller and smaller, and because the market is basically saying that. And I think developers who are looking at the market now will be trying to capture that as well.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mumo,
Thank
for
you very
finding
much.
time to be with us, of
Thank
course.
you very much for
and of course, helping us understand where the dynamics in this industry are headed.
Anytime.
Very good.
Asante.
And of course, we have been talking about the concept of mixed-use development with Mr. Mumo. He is the development manager at Mivida Homes. They are the developers of Garden City here in Nairobi, and of course, giving us his perspective on where this market is going. Well, it's now past noon. Thank you very much indeed. You have been with us here since 10 in the morning. My name is O'Brien Kimani. This has been BizCheck. Gladys is coming up next with Kurunzi. Stay right here. Otherwise, from me and the rest of BizCheck team, have a good afternoon.